Have you ever experienced a child or children who are constantly apologizing for something that they have done, yet they show no marked remorse or transformation in their behaviors? How many times have you encountered a child or children who are always blaming others and never seeing their part in the problem? How about those who take credit for what others have done without acknowledging others' involvement and contribution? These are some of the typical traits of young people who are neither accountable nor responsible. So how do we raise accountable and responsible children? Let's explore some strategies. Welcome back to Global Teachership Hub. Today we're going to be exploring how we can go about raising accountable and responsible children. For everyone's clarity, let's start off with some definitions using some Google searches for some of the terminologies that we've used so far in this statement that we're going to be exploring. So firstly, we're going to look at raising, and raising simply means to move to a higher position. Responsible means having an obligation to do something as part of one's role, and accountable requires or expects to justify actions or decisions. Now, when we take these into consideration and having the clarification of these terminologies, the aim here then is to explore strategies of how we're able to move children to a higher position of understanding the importance of having a sense of obligation to own their actions, their decisions, and respond appropriately in any given situation. Raising accountable and responsible children is by no means easy for parents, teachers, carers, and others working with children and young people to accomplish. It requires strategic approaches and consistency to condition these types of behaviors. Yet, it is important to understand that this is being achieved in homes, classrooms, social clubs, sporting arenas, and halls where young people frequent and are present. Some people are starting from different stages in diverse circumstances. Whatever the starting point, it is possible with the use of specific sets of techniques. These behaviors, with careful and measured approach, can be redressed with subtle and conscious changes in approaches to how children are perceived, trained, and coached. There are two fundamental important factors that we need to focus on when we are trying to ensure that we're raising accountable and responsible children. The first of this is to understand their struggles. Young people have their own crisis happening in their lives, and they most times feel misunderstood, blamed, criticized, and victimized. They push back against these with denying accountability and showing up as unbothered, which is read as them simply not being responsible. When we understand the struggle that they are under, we are more likely to empathize with them. Then, through compassion, find strategies that we feel will work for them and discuss approaches with them in order to comprehend what they feel would support them most. Even if the strategies agreed on isn't theirs, a wall would have been brought down because they felt heard and seen. This helps to make them more receptive to what you are trying to support them in achieving. Secondly, we need to teach them socio-emotional skills. Children and young people need to be able to develop skills for their social interactions and understanding of how their behaviors impact others. They need to heighten their emotional quotient so that they can build and maintain connections. These are drivers to increase their desires to become both accountable and responsible, and this can be fostered in 4 steps, and we're going to share those. The first step is to help them to reflect on the impact of their actions. Put children and young people in a position to reflect on their actions. This means that they are needing to accept what they have done. Then they need to explore the impact that these actions have on them and others around them. They also get the opportunity to explore the consequence those actions have on their sphere. This forces children to accept what they have done and rationalize their actions and understand how these have affected their lives and the lives of others. The second step is for them to assess what other options were available. Give them the opportunity to explore what other actions could have been taken instead of the ones that they took. And they also need to explore how could those have impacted them and others, these new or other options that were available. Have them contemplate what the severity of those consequences would have been. This will prompt them to see other possible courses of actions that could have been taken in this situation and have a store for future eventuality. The third step is to have them look at what remedy can be employed. This question prompts children and young people to see what they can do to change the present situation that their actions contributed to creating. This can be as simple as a genuine apology, or replacing something that they have broken, or spending time doing good to someone in their community as a way of redeeming their action that they have caused. These are tough decisions that they need to make because they need to exercise their obligation to doing something about the situation that they have created. And step number 4, they need to explore what can be done to impact the future. When children think about the future, it helps to remind them that the actions are like ripple effects. Not only do they reach out and affect others, they also reach into the future with far-reaching impact on their lives and the lives of many others. It helps them to focus on short-term and long-term gratification by guiding them in forward thinking of the consequences when making decisions. These approaches of focusing on accountability and responsibility moves children and young people to a higher position of maturity, and it gives them a great setup for self-control, emotional intelligence, and better awareness of how to network, connect, and collaborate with people from varying backgrounds and with diverse perspectives and beliefs. Here is an actionable that you could use to help you to implement this approach immediately. So whether you are a teacher, a parent, a carer, or a coach, find one child or an area that you want to focus on and try these steps with them. It is important to first demonstrate understanding, genuinely understanding. This creates room for trust and a feeling that you are on their side. Then implement the other steps. This might even require a checklist to ensure that they accept what they have or haven't done as a way to get the process started. Whatever you decide to tackle, remember, consistency is key in developing the muscle of accountability and responsibility in children and young people. Thank you for staying with us here on this another episode of Global Teachership Hub. We hope that these strategies will indeed help you to impact the lives of the young people and children that you are involved in, to ensure that they're being raised to be more accountable and responsible young people who will grow up to be phenomenal adults.